Hi, welcome to this session. I'm your host Pratik Udeshi. I head the advertising business across LCS for beauty, for FMCG, for PCA. Joining me today is Varun Sethuraman. So Varun has been on the forefront of building and expanding the markets for Nestlé in India, starting with Maggi and now with the breakfast cereals business. Thank you, Varun, for joining us for this session.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Varun, you've been with Maggi before this, and how are you sort of bringing that experience or that understanding of the ecosystem and the consumer into the breakfast cereals business? And how have the last couple of years been on the breakfast cereal side? What have been your new findings and insights?
I mean, Maggie's been an amazing business, amazing ride. A lot of stalwarts have worked on the brand, a brand that pretty much the length and breadth of India loves.
Yeah.
So what Maggie taught more than anything else is deep-rooted consumer understanding and the fundamentals of how great brands are built and what gets people ticking. So I think those fundamentals, when you transfer to any business, will be great. And to a business like breakfast cereals, which in India genuinely has a lot of potential, and something that Nestle, as a demand moment, has an interesting opportunity on, is something that I'm quite enjoying right now. And breakfast cereals, I think overall, sort of, there has been a Maggi equivalent, I would say, player in this category who's been here for a while and who's pretty much synonymous with what the category is. And there are a couple of challengers, including us, who are sniping away.
Right.
But yeah, the future looks very interesting as consumer habits evolve.
Got it. On the point of consumer habits, right? Anything specific, any learnings, any insights that you can share publicly with us on how do you look at consumer habits? What are the insights? How do you build on this? How do you figure out the right kind of products that you bring to the table? Because I've seen a bunch of new products, right? There is corn, there is oats, there is jowar, so a bunch of new sort of products basis consumer need and the focus on sort of keeping it tasty but also nutritious. So can you share some more insights and thoughts on this?
See, I'll just step back on food. Food in general, as we see. I mean, like there's a famous saying, right? In India, and every 200 kilometers, food, language, and the topography, everything changes.
Right.
The cuisine, for that matter. So yeah, so a land of diversity and how, and that extends to most food items and beverages as well. And we are well entrenched into our food habits. So to make any change is not a simple one. But when it comes down to food habits at breakfast, just as the age of working population in India keeps going down, we have a very young working
Right.
population. Their approaches to the number of meals, the times in which they have their food differs, and what they have keeps evolving. So I can speak for myself. I'm not eating the same thing for breakfast or dinner, for that matter, that I had 5 years back. I would be surprised if I was having the same thing 2 years back. So yeah, so there's a lot of change.
Got
You don't necessarily need to keep pace with everything, but there are some meta trends that will start coming in and some which are consistent over a period of time. The one thing that I see significantly evolving or changing is that it's no longer dependent on only the mother to have to come to the table for breakfast.
Right.
There's equal parenting. And with younger age groups sitting there and people staying alone, etc., the onus of what they want to eat rests on themselves, a little bit of self-help. So that opens up a bit of avenues as well.
Got it. But Nestle has also been doing this across the board, right? So there is the Nestle Maggi double masala that has come in. There is also zero sugar food for infants or toddlers, right? That has been sort of brought to fore or been launched by Nestle. So it looks like this this consumer insight backward evolution is sort of playing out across the board, across the brands, right? So is there some secret sauce, or how do you sort of understand consumer insights better? If you could share something.
Yeah, I
more.
would just like to believe we are very good marketers across the company.
I got
And it is we are a leading F&B player
Right.
and in food and beverages as well. So fundamental marketing, fundamental consumer inciting across categories in a very, very rapidly changing India is I think something we do as our bread and butter or milk and noodles. But yeah, so it goes down to keeping your eyes close to what's happening. We can see in front of our eyes that people ask and get things in 10 minutes. What are they picking? Why? At what times are they picking that up? Who are the people who are still going to traditional trade to pick up? Modern trade, are they still picking up the large packs? So when we start looking at trends like this, and every business unit does a phenomenal job of trying to understand that, we also have competitors who keep us on our toes. And
Yeah.
so it's an interesting mix. But yeah, as with every large organization and every great brand, I think rigor in marketing, rigor in consumer understanding, speaking to the consumer, going to the market quite often,
Yeah, right.
looking at data and trends and seeing what's evolving. I think it's not a secret sauce, but I think it's an important ingredient.
Got it. I think we're, especially for breakfast, right? Considering it's the most important meal of the day. Um, there is also this whole thing about how do you keep it delicious, but also nutritious, right? And then leveraging that messaging. How do you identify your core TG? How do you figure out a way to speak to, sort of young adults, parents, across the segments?
So we've recently had what I would like to believe is promising success by extending one of our very popular brands, Munch, into the breakfast cereal segment.
Right.
And with that, we're able to get a very sharp understanding of who our TG is. And so that makes our life a lot simpler because we don't necessarily take the traditional route of only going behind the mother and child. So this gives us an opportunity to talk to a different consuming segment, the teenager, the youth, and that comes with separate codes of their own. So what we do is, with the strong understanding of who the consumer is, we have certain hot pockets in the country where we know the brand salience is quite strong, and where we then decide, okay, if this is who we're going behind and if this is where they are, then what's the best way to sort of get across to them? Mass media is something that we see as usage goes down, targeted media usage goes up, whether that is during the point of purchase, whether that is during the shopping online, whether that is influencing the relevant TG beforehand while they are doom scrolling, as we call it. So yeah, there are multiple different ways, but a sharper understanding of who we're going behind and where they are.
Got it. And tying to the same thing, or like double click into this, right? How has your media strategy evolved, right? Because obviously there were, like you were, talking about, like there was traditional media, and now you're sort of going deeper into insights based and like social and e-commerce and all of that, right? So how have you kept up with like the changing trends on the media mix, and what are the kind of media partners that you work with?
Yeah, the first thing is that, and maybe I'm going quite a few years back, there's no set agenda that there is only so much percentage that goes towards this medium and this is what we do. We keep our ears closer to the ground, and that's one. Second is when we have a strong understanding of the TG, and because it's an evolving TG, they will pick something today, they will pick something else tomorrow. So we sort of try and be as fluid as possible. And to do that, we need to have a stronger understanding of what is working and what is not.
Sure.
A lot of organizations, a lot of brands are now moving from a spray and pray to saying a little more targeted. Right. So I would say that mediums, largely digital-based mediums that are giving you sharper targeting and a very strong sense of what is working, which can be measured, are where I think a lot of the advertising budgets are moving.
Sure. So double click into this, Varun, right? How have you structured your campaigns? Because you will also need to do top of funnel marketing and advertising to talk to consumers and then rapidly look at sort of downstream or bottom funnel, right? How do you strike that balance, and any examples that you can share with us on what has worked for you?
Typically, and this is the age of a lot of innovations coming into the market, right? And typically when you start with innovation for any category, any brand, a top of funnel becomes pretty fundamental to sort of get your awareness going. And we're living in the age of K-pop and Netflix and whatnot. And sneaker drops are everywhere.
Right.
So I personally am a big sneaker fan, and I look at the kind of top of funnel conversations they get going, and I will pick examples from pretty much that setup. But if you want to talk closer to FMCG, I will then say, okay, let's say there is a new product that comes out. Let's pick up the example of a thumbs up charged. Let's pick up hypothetical example of a new flavor that possibly Lay's brings in, or for that matter in breakfast cereals. There is a new product, Munch Choco Fills, that we launched. When we talk top of funnel, again, I will simplify this conversation into saying there are different TGs for each of them, right?
Sure.
And there is a brand salience conversation. There is a cohort understanding. So for sneaker fans, you have a great cohort, and you will be able to fundamentally go back to them and say, okay, here's something new that's coming. Versus, let's say, in the case of a breakfast cereal, either we can go down and say there are people who love the mother brand Munch,
Right.
or we can look at a set of people who are time crunched. And typically, time crunched
Nice.
people, we're able to understand, okay, uh, and one of my pet conversations is Bombay. I would like to believe that people in Bombay start their day a lot earlier than the ones in Delhi. So the kind of time-based targeting that we do there would be a lot different than we do
Sure.
here. So between cohort, between time-based, and brands wanting to influence at scale quickly for innovations, because the life cycle for innovations per se is low, but to be able to make a difference very quickly, I think top of funnel becomes very critical there. So that's something that a lot of brands do. Bottom of funnel is what a lot of marketers would agree is the hardest. I don't think there's a formula for it yet, but leveraging brand heritage would go a long way there.
Got it. Sure. Are there specific strategies that you've deployed on Amazon that have like worked really well for you? And more about just how sort of retail media has played a part, as you look at scaling up brands or bringing brands to the fore.
Yeah, you guys have defined the category for such a long time and where you're operating. And I think with a lot of brands, there's been a very strong partnership on what we've done. But I think it works both ways, right? Brands also get a lot of information, a lot of data. That's very, very helpful. From a retail media perspective, again, there are a few categories where the leader defines the keyword that is to be used. And so typically either the cost of bidding on that keyword becomes very high, in which case there's a lot of other approaches that we take. And the suite of options that we work with Amazon is quite helpful that way. So what ends up happening is even from a display standpoint, from your main page to your subcategory to where we want to place it, to understanding the cohort, we look at a different set of approaches every single time. There's no one thing that we say, okay, this is working, keep doing this all the time. Because typically what we've seen is if there's something working, we don't know who's behind this, but it starts getting that much more competitive. A lot of people come in. But for small brands, what I can say is there is a lot of advantage in being agile. And I think with Amazon and with what we've done, particularly on a couple of our segments, we learn, iterate, we look at what's working, and we double down. And then we keep changing, let's say once a quarter. We don't have a trigger-happy approach to do it quickly, though.
Got it. Got it. And you touched upon analytics and insights. Anything on analytics and insights that has like sort of worked well for you, be it AMC or new to brand or household penetration?
See, household penetration is what, on an under-penetrated category, everyone will sort of be going behind.
Sure.
And I'm sure even the leader would be doing that. In our case, it's a combination of that and taking share, or it's about developing a certain cohort segment who are buying. So, of course, there is this great basket understanding that we will be able to get. What are the other items on the basket for our TG? So we get a little bit of understanding there. We also have some very sharp ideation of who comes back and who are the ones who are able. We then go back. We're not yet scale on this business, and any small brand owner will tell you that the strongest understanding from data comes from those who keep coming back, those who can keep targeting, and those who keep buying you back again.
Sure.
So that's something that I think is quite interesting.
Got it. Understood. You mentioned that this is still sort of early stages and you are sort of building this out and scaling it up. How is that strategy different for, say, a legacy brand, like, say, a Maggi or a Ceregro or some of the others, right? And how do you sort of bifurcate that versus this? Because you've been on the other side of the business also. So.
See, I mean, the current Maggi team is doing a great job of it, so I'm just going to speak like an outsider. Large brands, any large brands will have smaller players sniping away at them. But the fact that the brand love is so high means that even in your organic searches, they will feature very, very high.
Correct.
So it is about, from a large, and I don't want to call them legacy brands because they're evolving as well, is about how do they adapt, be it from a price pack architecture, dedicated packs, or is there some sort of a specific engagement that they do which sort of brings in a little bit of equity. It can be the same brand. It can be this slightly different packaging for a certain point in time. How can you leverage that? How can you take the equity that you have by being pretty so high on people's mind and extend it into innovations and juice that out? Because when you search Maggi, you will of course get noodles, but you'll also get the lead competitor.
Right.
But can the second and the third option that comes up be an innovation that Maggi themselves launches, for that
Got
matter. Those are the kind of things that I would believe is.
Got it. And from signals beyond sales, right? Even on the platform, like are there other metrics or signals that you look at, and if you can elaborate on a little bit more on Amazon, off Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, of course, how much of the investment that we are doing from off-platform versus on-platform actually influences the sale? I'm sure you will want to overpitch that. I'm sure that's something that we would want to understand as well.
Sure.
That's good data to have for anyone. If we are able to look into a crystal ball and predict, we can possibly see that the online shopping channel would be huge. But we also know that the channel doesn't just influence the sale, it also is offering an opportunity to build a little bit of brand, build a lot of awareness, etc. So yeah, so we're happy to keep evaluating those options.
Got it. One last question from my side. For young marketers, right? Marketers who are trying to build new brands, the D2C space is sort of exploding. Any advice or tips that you would like to share with them with the experience that you had across multiple brands?
Oh, I mean, there's no playbook. and if you did have a playbook, then it's not relevant anymore. Okay. So yeah, so just keep going with it, roll up your sleeves and just start working. It's a lot of fun right now.
Got it. All right. Thank you, Varun. Nice talking to you.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure.